Hi, hello. Welcome to the episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is November the 4th, 2023. Hopefully, this episode finds you well, in good spirits, and high hopes. As for me, I'm doing pretty good. I guess a little mushy, just because I didn't really sleep well. So that's kind of my own fault. I went to bed way too early. Growing up, I wish someone would have told me that it's not like, yeah, you shouldn't go to sleep late. That's obviously gonna mess up your sleep. And maybe this isn't for everyone. Maybe everyone has just different sleep cycles, of course. But like for me, the problem is sometimes going to bed too early nowadays as I get older. Like I'll want to go to bed around like 9, 10 o'clock and then just ruin my sleep because I'll wake up in the middle of the night. Now, granted, I think what makes it worse for me is like, I'll go to sleep watching something or whatever. So I'll have like two or three things going on and I'll wake up in the middle of the night and then next thing you know, two different things are going on, same devices. And I'm like, oh gosh, But that's kind of self-inflicted. I gotta maybe do better there. But overall, we're good. It's good. Let's see here. Food corner. I know I referenced earlier in the week the bag of kettle corn. I have been doing little mods as I've been eating my way through it, like a little rat. I've been adding chocolate to it, so that was yummy. And then the other night, I put some of it in a bowl and I added caramel to it, and then just like ate it with like a spoon. So that was yummy. That was nice, a little debaucherous for myself. But yeah, we cleared that finally. And now we're here, ready to talk about some news real quick. Hopefully, let's see here. I'm gonna do my typical startup, and then we will get into it. Okay, from the BBC News. Nepal earthquake. More than 150 killed in remote western Nepal. More than 150 people have been killed after an earthquake struck remote western Nepal on Friday. Security forces have been deployed to help rescue efforts in the rugged districts of Jakarta and West Rukam, 500 kilometers or 310 miles west of Kathmandu. It might be Kathmandu. Um, Strong tremors were felt far away and the Nepalese capital and in cities in neighboring India, including Delhi. Including Delhi. Sorry, I said it like there's a that's local, I think, and I just fucked it up. It's Delhi. um, an army spokesman said more than 100 people had been injured. Jakarta's hospital is packed with the wounded. Obviously, super sad, super unfortunate. Another thing to add, we've kind of, talked about this when it comes to earthquakes is, there's obviously like one big one. I think this one hit at about 5.6, but then there's like following like aftershocks, tremors that you have to worry about. So, there's people in their homes, obviously the initial earthquake, you just got to get out as soon as you can. Excuse me. But then you have people spending the nights outside hoping to, get a tent, because at the end of the day, that's safer than trying to go back inside your home that's probably been damaged, or like there's going to be another tremor and, it could just collapse in on you then. So, obviously very scary times. It's very unfortunate. It's a lot of damage to, obviously, there's lots of life, but then obviously damage to just, so many homes and property. It's a lot to recover from. Let's see here. Is there anything else I wanted to pull? Yeah, last month, a 6.3 magnitude earthquake was registered in the western district of Bajang, resulting in injuries. And then, yeah, that's more or less it there. I mean, of course, there's more if you want to read. But yeah, let's go ahead and move on to a storm that has been running through Europe from the Associated Press. Storm Ciarán brings record rainfall to Italy with at least 6 killed. European death toll rises to 14. Record-breaking rain produced floods in a vast swath of Italy's Tuscany region as Storm Ciarán pushed into the country overnight, trapping residents in their homes, inundating hospitals, and overturning cars. At least 6 people in Italy and 1 person in Albania were killed on Friday, bringing the storm's death toll to 14 across Europe this week. Let's see here. Throughout the day, the storm brought more death and destruction as it moved eastward across the continent. In Albania, police said a motorist died when he lost control while driving a car, which slid and hit barriers. Many roads in the country were flooded, including the capital, Tirana. Huge waves pummeled the Adriatic shores of the Balkans, and strong winds uprooted trees and ripped off roofs. Ferries connecting Croatia's islands with the coastline were halted. They also talk about a lot of, the main focus here is kind of on Italy. I know it also says that it hit some other European countries. Here we go. Ciarán left at least 7 people dead as it swept across Spain, France, Belgium, the Netherlands, and Germany on Thursday. And then there was also something I wanted to reference before we move on to the next beat. Florence Mayor Dario Nardella told Sky TG24 that the Arno River, which runs through the center of the city, had reached the first level of alert with the highest levels forecast for midday. Neither he nor the governor expected the river to overrun its banks. The psychological fear is high, considering that tomorrow is the anniversary of the 1966 flood, Nardella said, recalling a flood that killed 101 people and damaged or destroyed millions of artistic masterpieces and rare books. So I can definitely understand, like, in that area, how, like, that just heightens up the tension when you have something like that, like, just, like, coinciding. You know, if you're a superstitious person, you're going to be like, oh, my gosh, like, I'm freaking out. I'm really, like, really scared, which, is obviously going to make things potentially worse. But, obviously, condolences, go to the people going through that. I know just seeing pictures of literally people wrapping themselves up in, like, trash bags and, like, trying to just, get their family, to point A to point B, safer areas and stuff like that. People just walking around in shorts. So definitely, it's a real wild scene. And, once again, just very devastating on top of that. You're just going through this, like, surreal moment in life and then, like, then having to pick up the pieces of it once you do get to, like, safety, Shit's fucking crazy. So, my heart goes out to those people. But let's move along. I'm not gonna lie to you and tell you the news is gonna get any better here. From CNN, Israel admits airstrike on ambulance near hospital that witnesses say killed and wounded dozens. Israel has claimed responsibility for an attack on an ambulance outside Gaza City Al-Shifa Hospital, the largest medical facility in the enclave, which witnesses say killed and wounded dozens of people. At least 15 people were killed and 50 others wounded, the Hamas-run health authorities say Friday. Footage from the scene showed at least a dozen bloodied casualties strewn across the ground near an ambulance. There appears to be some shrapnel damage to at least one of the cars on the scene. Israel said it had targeted the ambulance because it was being used by Hamas, according to a statement from the IDF. An IDF aircraft struck an ambulance that was identified by forces as being used by a Hamas terror cell in close proximity to their position in the battle zone, it wrote. And they also go on to add, a number of Hamas terrorist operatives were killed in the strike. We have information that demonstrates that Hamas's method of operation is to transfer terror operatives and weapons in ambulances. So yeah, essentially they're saying, oh, this wasn't an ambulance, this was a Hamas mobile, and that's why we targeted it. And we didn't care, once again, about, any civilians or any people involved because, we just knew that we had to get them. So great or evil, times of war, we just pulled the trigger on that. Not sorry about it. So, this to me was just really important because this is not the first time an ambulance has been blown up by IDF. It's just the first time that it's so blatant and so evident that like it's making major headlines. So I really wanted to talk about it and discuss it. Now, of course, they do have this narrative here, and they go on to add that like, let's see. The ambulance was damaged when a shell fell near it. Upon the arrival at the Al Shifa's hospital gate, was targeted again. That was the Palestine Red Cross Society. I'm saying this, or the PCRS. Dozens of civilians in the area were killed and injured. But getting to the point, Dar Sharif Al Qudra said that authorities had organized the medical convoy from the hospital and had informed International Committee of the Red Cross, or the ICRC, about the move. He said the convoy was traveling to the Rafah crossing, the border in the south of the besieged enclave. Has been seen as the last hope for Gazans' escape as Israel's bombs rain down the strip. Granted, they're only letting people who have like dual citizenship out, more or less, and you're on a list, and it's a whole fucking thing. When the ambulances moved towards the south, the occupation, Israel, targeted the ambulances in multiple locations, including the gate at Al Shifa Medical Compound. The Israeli occupation targeted intentionally those ambulances. The ICRC confirmed to the CNN it received a request to accompany the convoy prior to leaving. But while it was aware of the scheduled movement of a convoy of vehicles carrying wounded patients from northern Gaza to the south of the enclave on Friday, it was not a part of it in a later statement. And I feel like that is something that people are going to say is like, aha, you see, they weren't there, they weren't supervising it. So yeah, obviously Hamas was in these things, and clearly those are the people that got hit. But yeah, even if we were not present, this is still a medical convoy, and any violence towards medical personnel is unacceptable, the ICRC said. No doctors, no nurses, or any medical professionals should die while working to save lives. And that's what I'm fucking saying here. So, like, even in this fucking beautiful, twisted fantasy nightmare where you have this Hamas mobile ambulance here, you are putting civilians in mass jeopardy in a situation where you are literally saying, well, we do have the information to prove it, which means you have this shit covered from point A to point B. And like, you're saying, oh, well, like, this is potentially like a military thing, so we like didn't want to like, compromise any of ours, yada, yada, yada. It's like, no, dude, you're just blowing up civilians. At the end of the day, long story short, let me summarize it for you. That's what you're fucking doing. And you can say that everything that's happening out of these hospitals, and Hamas is in the air, and Hamas is in the ground, and the dirt, and like, we have to eradicate Hamas, don't you see? But it's like, at the end of the day, you are killing human beings. You're just killing civilians. Like, there's just no way around this. Every fucking time you can propagandize it and shoot it out as much as you want. But like, once again, that is why I wanted to cover this, because it's not the fucking first time it's happened, and I'm sure, sadly, it won't be the fucking last. But it's important to like have the show on the record. It's important to discuss this shit. It's important to say how wrong it fucking is. You know what I mean? At least that's how I look at it. Okay, so yeah. We did that. We've covered that. I have one more thing to cover, and I wish I was leaving you guys on a good note. I know I hate when I do this, but that's just the way it is. I'm gonna take my little break, and then we will close it out. Ooh. Okay, from CNN. Oi, oi, oi. Armed men spring Guinea's ex-junta leader Camara out of prison, minister says. The former head of Guinea's 2008 military junta, Musa Dadis Camara, was sprung from prison by heavily armed men in Conakry in the early hours of Saturday, along with three other high-ranking officers. Justice Minister Charles Wright said. Local residents told Reuters military vehicles and special forces were policing the streets of the Guinean capital after shots were heard in the Column Administrative District, where Camara and others were held in the Central House prison. It was around 5 o'clock a.m., 1 a.m. Eastern Time, that heavily armed men burst into the Central House of Conakry. They managed to leave with four defendants in the trial of the events of September 28th, including Captain Musa Dadis Camara, the minister said on the radio. They will be found wherever they are, he said, declining to give further details of the investigation. Now, I initially was like, ooh, I mean, that's a breakout. That's crazy. That's super interesting. But then I definitely immediately got the details of what Camara and, his group was being held for. Camara and the others have been on trial since last year, accused of orchestrating a stadium massacre and mass rape of Guinean security forces in which 150 people were killed during a pro-democracy rally on September 28th, 2009. So, yeah, no, obviously very bad that this guy is back out on the streets trying to, leave. But yeah, I know borders are closed and, they're trying to make sure this guy doesn't just, obviously doesn't just leave New Guinea, doesn't try to leave the country, whatever. So hopefully they fucking catch him and his ilk, his group, his little, compatriots, whatever the fuck. Because what the fuck, man? That's fucking depraved. Ugh. One of this closing note here. Guinea is governed by military leader Mamadi Doumbouya, who took power in a coup in 2021, one of the 8 in West and Central Africa in the last 3 years. Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso, Chad, and Gabon are also run by military officers. So there we go. We'll end on that closing note for the day. If you'd like to support the effort, there is a ways to do that. Patreon.com/Isaiah News. You do become a newsie. I shout you out at the top of the month, say your name, plug a project, thing you're doing. You just hit me up and you just tell me, and I'll be like, oh yeah, I'll totally do that for you. Let's see. Then also, free ways to hit me up. IsaiahNews1@gmail.com. I'm on some socials if you'd like to follow them or comment or say what's up, whatever. Discuss, discourse, what have you. Also, hopefully you're subscribed to the YouTube. That helps out a lot. Hopefully you're doing all the liking, subscribing, hitting the bells. And yeah, hopefully leave a comment, leave a review. Hopefully it's a good review. And hopefully I see you soon for some more good news. I love you. Bye-bye. Mwah.